Hi, hello there. Welcome to another edition of whatever this is. So, last night I did midnight makeup and a cocktail, which I really like that idea, and I'm going to do it again. Side note, look who washed their hair today, me. So yeah, I'm gonna do that again, but I rambled a little bit. The video was way too long, way too rambling. If you watched it, good for you, you're a saint. So you can't tell by the way I'm grabbing around, but I actually did organize my whole makeup area today. So we've got a lot better situation. Everything is good to go and kind of easy to find. So I won't be grabbing around as much. We're not gonna go chasing waterfalls today. We're gonna stick to the rivers and the lakes that we're used to. So I'm gonna do more of some stuff I'm familiar with, more products I'm familiar with. So again, hopefully that's all the rambling for this video. So today is, oh no. Okay. Today is Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel's birthday, more commonly known as Coco Chanel. So she was born this day, August 19th, 1883, in Saumur, France. And Lord only knows if I'm pronouncing some of these things correctly, but hopefully. Anyway. So she was born on this day, and I wanted to kind of find different things to talk about while I do my makeup. And since it's her birthday, I thought we could really get into her. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times. So basically, she grew up really poor, and what happened to her was actually really sad. Her mom died, and her dad just kind of like pieced out. He like left, like after the mom died. He was like, oh, I'm just gonna like drop you off at this orphanage, and was the rest of her childhood. That's how she grew up. So after her time in the orphanage, she was a shop girl. Like working in like different textile shops, and she also like was a singer at like this little cafe. And it was there that she actually got the nickname Coco. And it was there that she kind of met all of these wealthy, like well-to-do gentlemen. So anyway, she meets this one guy, and he's like super wealthy, and he actually helps her, like he funds her to start her own shop. And I read somewhere that like eventually she was able to pay all of her investors back. She famously like had a lot of romantic relationships, but never married. I think she was linked to like 8 different like super serious relationships, and they were like a couple of them were like British royalty, aristocrat. One of them was definitely a Nazi, and we're gonna get into that. But anyway, so she starts her own little shop, and at the time that she starts this shop, like because she was born in 1883, so we gotta remember that corsets were actually still happening. And you know, women didn't like it. They thought they were very uncomfortable naturally. And Coco kind of like, one of her big things was like, if it's not comfortable, like it's not worth wearing. I'm not doing that. We're not doing that. We're doing new different things that like women actually enjoy wearing. They like to wear. So she famously makes like all of this stuff that's like way better and way easier for women to make or to wear. Pardon me. Apparently, I cannot look at eyeshadow and tell a story at the same time. So there's that. The wealthy women in this area at the time just go nuts over it. So she actually ends up doing really well, really fast, making a lot of money. So she's doing great. She's always been known, obviously, for the little black dress, the quilted purse, the chains, the inverted C logo, all these things. They're starting to happen for her. Things that we've just grown up with, they're starting to happen for her. She's making it. She's doing it. Anywho, that's happening. And in 1921, she is the first fashion designer ever to create a perfume. So she gets with this very famous perfume maker and creates Chanel No. 5. And it was a really big deal. It was instantly a hit. It is still a hit to this day. Every 30 seconds, a bottle of Chanel No. 5 is sold. And apparently, it's called Chanel No. 5 because it was the 5th sample that this perfume maker had her try. And it was the one that she really liked the best. So, to mass produce the perfume, she kind of agreed to this shady business deal where she only got 10% of the profits, and she quickly tried to renegotiate this deal, and I can't think off the top of my head who the investor was that clearly made out so well, but it didn't work out. But anyway, even 10% of the profits of Chanel No. 5, she did very well. She did great. But yeah, that's kind of, I didn't know that until recently, that all that went down with the perfume. I'm kind of doing the side backwards, so that's okay. So 1921, she creates Chanel No. 5. And that's a big deal. Moving along. So, in 1939, so we're skipping ahead a little bit. Mind you, in the 30s, Chanel was it. The 30s, she's always been famous. She'll always be, she'll always be Coco Chanel. She's a legend. But the 30s were really her era. It was when she was the biggest thing ever in all of fashion. It was the 1930s. But in 1939, she had to close up shop because of World War II. And this is where things kind of get not so great. She was dating a man at this time named Hans Gunther von Dinklage, and Lord knows if I only said that right, that he was a Nazi. I mean, there are some reports that say he was just a German diplomat, which I can only assume that all German diplomats at that time were like Nazis. And then there are some reports that just say like this guy was a Nazi. And there's some reports that say Coco was a German spy. There's some reports that say like she just did what she had to do, you know, to get along in this time of war. I don't know why I laughed. That's not funny. But the thing is, like, more reports than not that I've read when I looked into this, like, give a strong indication that she was a Nazi sympathizer. And there was one gentleman that actually wrote a book in 2011, and I will link that info down below because I can't remember it right now, and I definitely want him to get credit for his work. But he was actually tracking down something else, and came upon some of her happenings, like with the Nazi party. And this man, like, he did the research, like he's in Europe, he's digging up these documents, and he flat out said, like, she was a Nazi sympathizer, she was a Nazi spy, she was super anti-Semitic, she was not great. And the interviewer asked him, you know, why do you think people overlook this, or why do you think that she's still so famous and popular? And the guy said, look, you know, I'm not out to get Coco Chanel. Like, I just happened upon this information, I verified it, I published it. You know, it's part of history. I'm not out to get Coco Chanel. And he said, you know, I think that ultimately she was so good at what she did that people just kind of overlook it. Like, her style and her iconic status is still everywhere today. I mean, I literally just said a few minutes ago, like, every 30 seconds a bottle of Chanel No. 5 is sold. An interesting side note about this man, and like I said, this book came out in 2011, so almost a decade ago. So this is definitely, I'm not sure if this is still true, but at the time, multiple countries had like purchased the book, and they had translated the book. The United States had purchased it. You know, it was available here. The only country to not purchase the book and didn't want to have anything to do with it was France. So I don't know if that's changed. Like I said, that was a decade ago. But I think that's really interesting that this, you know, very credible, historically accurate book comes out that paints her in this not so great light, you know, with the Third Reich, and France was like, oh, we don't know about that. So I found that to be interesting, but whatever, what have you. So that, I mean, I believe that to be a credible source. So that's where it's kind of like disheartening, you know, like there's so many, books and films about her. You know, she's so fascinating. She's got this rags to riches story. She's so incredibly talented. She's got all these romantic, you know, stories in her life. She's very interesting. And, you know, I think a lot of people in the fashion world and the beauty world will, you know, she's an icon, you know, even if you're not in that world, you know her. And so it's so hard to find out that, you know, because that's honestly, like, when you think about the bad things that someone could be, Nazi sympathizer, really not good. Really bad. So, anyway, she's running around with this guy, Hans Gunther von Dietrich. She loves him. She's doing these bad things. But then the United States wins the war. And basically, she got out of questioning. And I don't know all of the details about that because I didn't read exactly how that went down. But basically, from what I have read and the research I have done and what I do know, she was like, oh, I'm not a Nazi. I don't hate Jewish people. Like, I'm Coco. She was like, I would not do that. And basically like evaded questioning. But it did stain her reputation. Definitely did not leave a good mark on her. And she actually did not come back onto the scene until 1954. And when she did, it definitely wasn't like, it wasn't as big and wild as it was, you know, as she was in the 30s. Like, it wasn't, but she still like turned out some really great shit. She like made these like very comfortable, like cool, like bell-bottom style things. She, you know, she kind of had a resurgence at this time, but nothing was as big as she was in the 30s. So in the 40s, there's a little sidebar here. In the 40s, there was this woman named Elsa Schiaparelli. God, I hope I'm saying that right. She is super Italian. And she's a designer. So she's a little bit younger than Coco. And they cannot be more different. So Coco is very rags to riches. Grew up in France, you know, in this French orphanage. Elsa was actually born to pretty wealthy parents in Italy. Coco was like this timeless beauty. Elsa was, I don't think Elsa Schiaparelli was ugly by any means. She wasn't, I don't think she, you know, I think a lot of people, in their opinion, viewed her as not classically beautiful as Coco. But I don't know. I'm not here to compare how pretty I think these two talented women are. I think that's a little crazy. So I'm actually going to use a real life contouring kit today, so we'll see how that goes. So anywho, Elsa, totally different, you know, born a little bit later, this wealthy family in Italy. And I have read reports that like at one point she was impoverished, like when she was like a young struggling designer. She's like 22 and she had a baby. I did a lot of my research on Coco Chanel. So if you want to hear like more about Elsa, I will happily like research her more. I just don't, you know, I don't want to say things that I'm not sure about. But what I am sure about is that she's Italian, her parents pretty wealthy, just totally different than Coco. Totally different than Coco. And she was very avant-garde. Like think Lady Gaga. Like she was super avant-garde. Just totally different. Like where Chanel was like very streamlined and simple and basic, like Elsa was more like editorial avant-garde. Like I think actually, and I'm not sure about this, but I do think that Lady Gaga has channeled her a little bit, whether she knows it or not. I think she's probably aware of it because Lady Gaga is like extremely into fashion. But yes, that would be like one of her inspirations. It would be my guess, and I think that would be a good guess. So one of the last big balls, like the big fashion balls before World War II hits the fan and Europe is like in chaos, like madness. Elsa and Chanel are both there. And Chanel is just like in costume as herself. And Elsa was dressed up as this very like avant-garde tree. She was like a fancy tree. And Coco like convinces Elsa to dance with her. And Elsa does. And Coco like accidentally steers her into a fire and catches like her like tree costume on fire. And it gets put out, like it's actually like causes like quite the scene at the party. Like, you know, people are drinking and you know, they gleefully kind of like put Elsa out, put her tree dress out with soda water. Like all these people are splashing soda water on her. And again, Coco's just like, oh my God, what a horrible accident. I would never do anything like that on purpose. And like no one believed her. They were rivals at this time. Like I mentioned, you know, Coco Chanel was really big in the 30s. Like Elsa was really big in the 40s. And this was like right as Elsa was starting to hit her fame. And yeah, they had been saying like low-key nasty things about each other. I want to call it catty. I think that kind of like belittles them as the wonderful women they are. But like there have been numerous reports that they were saying lots of nasty things about each other. And I, you know, kind of believe it for Coco. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know that to be true. I wasn't there. But I kind of believe it for Coco. So she pushes this girl into the fire and was like, oh no. What a terrible accident. I didn't do that. And, you know, no one believes her. So that's just kind of like a random story. But, you know, the thing you should take away from that is that Coco Chanel wasn't nice. She wasn't a nice lady. And she definitely, that story is more kind of funny, but, you know, being a Nazi spy is not funny. So there's that. So anywho, we get to 1954. Chanel makes a resurgence. And that's basically it. In 1971, Coco Chanel died in France. I mean, let's see, 1883 to 1971. I mean, that's a long time. She had a long long, good, interesting life. She died, you know, at an old age in France, and they actually, the apartment that she died in is still preserved. All right, sorry about that. I had to put lashes on, and I was not gonna make you sit through that, even though these are definitely the cheats. They are the magnetized. Oh, and they're cheap as hell. I got a 5-pack for $10 off Amazon. And I think you get what you pay for in this instance, because they don't look great. They really look like they want to take flight, but that's fine. Anywho, Chanel died in 1971. This gentleman named Karl Lagerfeld took over the business, and he actually just died last year in 2019. So he took over the business and kind of, you know, I mean, obviously it's still super, I mean, it's going, it's one of the top fashion houses in the world. So yeah, there's definitely mixed feelings about Chanel, you know. I think that she had a really rough start, and I think she was really talented, but I can't see any reason to sympathize with any type of cause like the Third Reich. So yeah, just a very complex lady. She did good things, she did bad things. She's famous forever. Famously married to her work. Famously a bad bitch woman entrepreneur, you know, way ahead of her time. So, you know, I like her and I don't like her. And I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. But I will leave you with this on the day of Chanel's birth, on the day of Gabrielle Coco Chanel's birth. This is a quote from her. "A loveless childhood developed in me a violent need to be loved. This need explains, I think, my whole life. I consider my success as proof of love, and like to think that when people love what I create, they are loving me as well, loving me through my creations." All right, happy Coco Chanel Day. I hope you had fun and learned something. I will link all of my research references in the description below. You're welcome to message me here or on my Instagram if you want to know about any of the products I used or have any questions about this video. I'll link a product list below as well. Have a good day.